In the future, in military academies and ordinary Ukrainian schools, the lessons of this war will be studied in detail: the courage of its heroes, the heavy trials endured by the Ukrainian people, and the difficult steps that led to victory. The history of Ukraine will acquire new pages that will become part of national memory and the world's experience of resisting brutal aggression. Despite Kremlin propaganda reporting successful advances of the Russian army in eastern Ukraine, fueling dreams of final victory among its own population, the reality turned out to be the opposite. Russia has, in fact, already lost this war, although AGT continues on the battlefield and the cost remains high. Today, despite strikes, losses, and social fatigue, Ukraine retains the ability to wage a prolonged war. Moreover, according to a number of Western analysts, this scenario is becoming the most likely path to victory. And this is not about a blitzkrieg, but about the strategic exhaustion of Russia, when its resources, economy, and human potential will no longer be able to bear the burden of war. Political scientist Mark Galeotti notes that the Kremlin has fallen into the trap of its own aggression. Russia can prolong the war but cannot win AGT. Ukraine, relying on Western support and internal consolidation, can afford strategic patience. Moscow has faced the fact that the attempt to subjugate a neighboring country by force has turned into a catastrophe for Russia itself. Economic sanctions are destroying the foundation of its financial system, technological isolation has thrown industry decades back, and the mobilization of millions of men has created social tension that only continues to grow. But what struck the Kremlin even harder was that Ukrainian society did not break. Instead, AGT united into a single force of resistance. Experts see several key elements of Ukraine's future victory: the resilience of Ukrainians, who did not allow their will for freedom to be broken and maintained unity even in the hardest months of the war. The determination of the Ukrainian army, which, despite unequal resources, managed to inflict defeats on a stronger opponent. The strategic support of the West, which provided Ukraine with weapons, technologies, intelligence, and finances, without which containing the Russian war machine would have been impossible. International diplomatic solidarity, which turned Ukraine into a symbol of the struggle for the right of every nation to live in security and determine its own future. And the failures of the Russian system itself, built on lies, corruption, and illusions of invincibility, which turned out incapable of modernization or mobilizing society around a just idea, plunging the country into repression and isolation instead. Professor of Military Strategy Philip Karber emphasizes, Ukraine has already proven AGT can fight better than the West believed. Now AGT is only a matter of time. How many years will be needed to finally exhaust the enemy? The war in Ukraine has already changed Europe and the world. Ukraine has become the vanguard of the fight for freedom, proving that even against a massive military machine AGT is possible to stand if truth and the support of free nations are behind you. Russia, meanwhile, has entered a new historical era, no longer perceived as a power that inspires fear, but as an aggressor weakened by internal contradictions and cut off from the civilized world. And when the last shot of this war is fired, monuments to the defenders of the fatherland will rise in Ukrainian cities. And in schools, children will be told that courage, faith in one's own strength, and the unity of the people can overcome even the most terrible aggression. Subscribe to our channel Politoday to stay updated.